Obstetrics and Gynecology Department. Encountering my ex-boyfriend. Seeing me holding the test report, he excitedly ran over. Haley, I was wrong. Can we have the baby? I'll take the child's surname. Suddenly, the male doctor who was writing the prescription snorted coldly. What? Do you want to call me Dad? After being on a business trip for more than a month and before I had time to change out of my police uniform, I was assigned to accompany a female complainant to the hospital for a physical examination. When holding the medical card to pay the fee in the lobby, suddenly I felt dizzy and nauseous for no reason. Thinking of the abnormal manifestations of my body recently and the delayed menstruation this month, suddenly Rocky's sweaty face on the night before my business trip flashed through my mind. After settling the complainant, I directly ran to the obstetrics and gynecology department for an examination. Looking at the two big characters, early pregnancy, written on the report sheet, my mind went blank. I didn't notice at all that the doctor in the original seat had been replaced. Are you sure it's pregnancy? I asked in surprise again. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught sight of the doctor on the opposite side who was also holding the report sheet. His hands were shaking even more than mine. Before hearing the answer, the familiar male voice sounded from behind me. Haley. I turned around at the sound and saw Tony standing at the door of the consulting room with several large bags of fruits. Not seeing him for 3 months, his originally unrestrained long hair had been shaved into a neat crew cut. The whole person looked more energetic than before, but the sloppy stubble on his chin could hardly hide his decadence. He stared at the report sheet in my hand as if grabbing a life-saving straw and asked, "Did you leave so resolutely back then because you were pregnant with a baby? Huh? Are you directing and acting a drama of running away with the ball for me?" I was wrong, Haley. Can we have the baby? I'll take the child's surname. Just as I was about to speak, the male doctor who was lowering his head to write the prescription suddenly snorted coldly. What? Do you want to call me Dad? I was stunned for a few seconds. Looking up, I met the male doctor sitting opposite me. His blue eyes were as clear and transparent as glass. I exclaimed in surprise. Rocky, didn't he text me a few days ago saying that he was on vacation today? Why is he in the hospital? The person who was called by name very calmly said, "Oh," but this "oh" of his sounded more or less with a bit of grievance just being recognized. Tony looked at Rocky very puzzledly and was burning with anger. Doctor, Rocky, what do you mean? Rocky put down the pen in his hand. His eyes roamed between me and Tony and he coldly said, literal meaning, Haley, don't scare me? Tony panicked and wanted to grab my hand. Rocky instantly got up and stood in front of me. Tony pushed him and shouted at him, "Who the hell are you?" Rocky was caught off guard and was staggered by Tony's push. His blue eyes were filled with ice. He grabbed Tony's collar. "Who the hell am I?" Rocky taunted Tony in his ear like a victor. "The report sheet says Haley is 1 month pregnant. A month ago, Haley and I became husband and wife on the basis of voluntariness and equality." Tony, I heard you are a lawyer. What does voluntariness and equality mean? Do I need to explain it to you? 3 months ago, my boyfriend who was discussing marriage with me was caught cheating red-handed. I immediately broke up with him. My dad was afraid that I would always be thinking about things when I was alone, so he kept arranging blind dates for me. I met Rocky through a blind date. Later, my dad was suddenly hospitalized. I couldn't go back from my business trip. I was so panicked that I shed tears. Looking through the list, I found that the only doctor friend I knew was Rocky. At 3 in the morning, I called him. He didn't show any displeasure of being woken up. Instead, he comforted me softly. "It's okay. I'm here." Rocky was even busier at work than me, but during the half month when my dad was hospitalized, Rocky spent more time taking care of him than I did. Sometimes he had surgeries all day during the day. At night, he stubbornly stayed up all night for me. Once when I rushed back to the hospital after overtime work, I saw Rocky, a big guy of 1.8 meters, sleeping on the bench outside the ward from a distance. When I was covering him with clothes, he woke up. He reached out and tidied up the stray hairs on my forehead. Then he pulled my sleeve like a spoiled child. "Do you feel sorry for me? If you feel sorry for me, compensate me." "What compensation does Dr. Rocky want?" Rocky's blue eyes gently turned. Finally, his eyes fell on my face. "Now I have a stable job, a car and a house. I don't smoke, don't drink, and have no bad habits." He said word by word, "Haley, do you want to try getting married with me?" When Rocky spoke, his voice was hoarse from just waking up, but every word that came out of his mouth was like a hair gently tickling my heart. On the night when we got the marriage certificate, I went home with Rocky. From the entrance to the bed, we kissed. At the last step, Rocky asked me if it was okay. I nodded and put my arms around his neck. When the darkness and Rocky came together, I thought that if getting married is just finding someone to live together, then at least Rocky is more sincere than Tony. The female complainant was in an unstable mood. I stayed with her in the hospital until her family members came. Rocky sent me a WeChat message asking me to go to his office to find him and go home together after I was done. I met Peter, a friend of Rocky's in the same department, in the corridor. He started teasing me from a distance. I said why Rocky was so kind to change night shifts with me yesterday. It turns out that our officer Haley is back today. I rolled my eyes. You're so glib. You didn't see Rocky's appearance this morning. When we went downstairs and saw you, this guy immediately ran upstairs to find you as soon as he got out of the elevator. Peter smacked his lips as he spoke. TSK, TSK, TSK. For the first time, I saw our steady doctor. Rocky so anxious. He changed the topic and looked at me suspiciously. Hey, but why did you go to the obstetrics department so early in the morning? Peter suddenly realized and looked at my stomach and cursed angrily. Damn it, Rocky, that dog is worthy of being a top student. He's always fast in everything. During the lunch break, Tony's mother called me and asked me to help take her to the hospital. Only then did I know that Rocky had always been Tony's mother's attending doctor. I met Tony a few days ago when he came to the hospital to pick up medicine. No wonder listening to the tone of Rocky and Tony's conversation that day didn't seem like they just met for the first time. Tony's mother was going to be hospitalized and didn't catch the hospital's lunch order, so I ran to the small restaurant across the street to buy food. I packed 2 bowls of noodles, neither with coriander. When I came back, Tony was also there. He got up and took the things in my hand. He was extremely touched and said, Haley, you still remember that I don't eat coriander. I thought to myself that it was clearly his mother who didn't eat coriander. What was he doing here? Before leaving, Tony's mother kept holding my hand and asked, Haley, I just want to take this opportunity to match you and Tony again. Is there really no possibility for you two? Auntie, I'm already married. Married? Tony's mother repeated in surprise. Haley, are you not lying to Auntie? Suddenly, the curtain of the bed next to Tony's mother's bed was pulled open from inside. I saw Rocky pushing a medical trolley out as if by magic. I can prove that she is already married. To me. Originally, both Rocky and I got off work early today. We made an appointment to have dinner at my dad's place in the evening. However, the mobile phone theft gang that we had been following for a long time finally showed some movement in the afternoon. By the time we caught the people after the police were dispatched, it was already after 7 o'clock in the evening. During this period, Rocky called me 3 times, but I didn't answer. When I came back, I saw Rocky sitting on the bench in the lobby of the police station like a left-behind child. I ran over extremely guiltily. I'm sorry, you've been waiting for a long time. Rocky shook his head and pinched my wrist and asked, what's on it? I looked carefully for a while, but there was really nothing at all. Rocky seemed to be amused by me. He grabbed my hand. I know there's nothing. I just wanted to find a reason to hold your hand. He pouted and muttered. As soon as the hospital gets off work, other wives have picked up their husbands. I can only come to find my wife by myself. When I couldn't find you, I was so anxious that I almost called the police. He gently pinched the bones of my hand and sighed. Oh, when I dialed the number, I just remembered that my wife is a police officer. Seeing that I came back late, Rocky called my dad in advance and said we wouldn't go back for dinner. The police station is next to the university town. There is a night market just 2 streets away, so we went there directly for dinner. Passing by a milk tea shop, I felt thirsty and went in to buy 2 cups of milk tea. Rocky was waiting at the door of the shop. He was wearing a white shirt and jeans today, with a pair of Converse canvas shoes on his feet and a computer bag slung over one shoulder. Standing there, he looked as pure as a male college student waiting for his girlfriend to finish class. Soon a little girl ran over and asked him for his WeChat. I heard Rocky say to her, sorry, I'm married. My child has already graduated from elementary school. The little girl was shocked and stammered. Then you look quite young. Rocky had an expressionless face. Thanks for the compliment. When I came out with the milk tea, he came forward and inserted the straw for me before handing it back to me. He held my hand with one hand and carried the other cup of milk tea with the other. I poked his back of the hand to remind him, that cup is for you. Hearing this, Rocky took a sip sullenly without warning and suddenly kissed me. He got so close that I could even see the small mole at the crease of his eyelid and his eyelashes that trembled gently as he kissed me deeply. The caramel flavor of the milk tea quickly spread between my lips and teeth. Rocky's breath was sweet and hot. He was rarely so domineeringly taking all my breath and forcing me to fall with him. Just when I felt like I was about to drown in him, he finally let me go. Rocky buried his head in my neck and said sullenly, Haley, I don't like drinking milk tea. Remember that? On the weekend, I came to take a statement from the female complainant who was hospitalized before. I came to the hospital in Rocky's car in the morning. As soon as I sat in the car, I was startled by him. I don't know what new fashion he's into today. On a 36-degree day, he's dressed up like an Arab. As soon as I walked to the door of the ward, I heard someone swearing loudly. What's so glorious about this that you still called the police? If this gets out, which man would still want you? If you didn't dress so revealingly and work the night shift in that kind of place, how could someone bully you when you're walking on the road properly? I pushed open the door. The girl was silent on the hospital bed. Her father was still non-stop scolding. Comrade, this is a hospital. Please don't make loud noises. I stepped forward and showed my police ID. Also, even if your daughter is walking on the street naked today, as long as she doesn't want to, no one can force her. Now we are legally interrogating the victim. Please ask irrelevant personnel to leave the room. The man dared not speak out, but let out a fierce hum and slammed the door and went out. According to the portrait drawn based on the girl's description, it can basically be determined that this person is the rapist and murderer who fled from another province to our jurisdiction a few days ago. To catch this rapist and murderer, 2 female colleagues in our police station pretended to be drunk on different streets in the early morning for 3 consecutive days. Of course, I was among them. To prevent Rocky from worrying, I said that I was on a business trip these days. Finally, on the 4th day, I waited for the murderer to appear on this street. Originally, as soon as he got close, the policeman lurking in the dark would jump out and hold him down. But I don't know if the murderer was too vigilant. He actually turned around and ran away when he was 3 steps away from me. I rushed forward and kicked him down. During the scuffle, he pulled out a knife from his arms. Seeing the knife in his hand sweeping towards my stomach, I rolled over to dodge. The dull sound of the blade cutting through flesh and bone was clearly audible on the silent street in the early morning. When I was carried onto the ambulance, I specifically emphasized not to go to the affiliated hospital of B University where Rocky works. My colleague gave an awkward smile and pointed to the man in front who was carrying the stretcher with a face so dark it couldn't be darker. But doctor, Rocky has already come. The rapist and murderer stabbed me in the right scapula with a knife, making me unable to lift my arm for half a month. The police chief specially approved a month's leave for me and scolded me harshly on the phone. You don't know to report to the police station that you are 2 months pregnant. You still rushed forward even in such danger. If something happens to you, how can the police station explain to Rocky? How can we explain to your deceased mother? I rested at home for this month. Rocky took annual leave and stayed at home to accompany me. It's certainly good to have someone take care of me when I'm sick. If this person wasn't in such a low mood, he cooked for me, changed my dressing, and helped me take a bath every day as if following a routine. He could finish speaking to me in 1 sentence and never waste a second sentence. I thought it was because my job was too dangerous and I didn't tell him. He was angry, so I tried to coax and please him for several days. One day, when he was working in the study, I brought in a plate of fruit. When Rocky saw me coming in, he nodded to indicate that I could just put the things on the table and leave. I peeled a lychee like showing off a treasure and handed it to him. This is Physixio. I won't give it to you if you don't smile. After Rocky glanced at me, he continued to be indifferent. I held up my arm for a long time and my arm was sore, but he still didn't move. The lychee was thrown into the trash can with a pop. Rocky, this is the nature of my job. If you regret getting married to me, you can just say it directly. I don't regret it. I stood at the door of the study. Behind me came the sound of Rocky closing his laptop. But before that, I seemed to hear him say, "Classmates, class is dismissed." You don't regret it? Then why haven't I seen you happy since I got pregnant? Ever since we came back from the hospital that day. Although Rocky didn't completely avoid mentioning my pregnancy, I could still feel that he was deliberately avoiding it. Rocky sat on the chair and didn't speak for a long time. Just when I thought he had tacitly agreed, Rocky slowly exhaled as if surrendering and said to me, "Haley, I have never regretted it. I'm not unhappy either. I'm just too happy and afraid of getting carried away. I'm afraid that if I ask, you will not want this child for various reasons. But I'm also afraid that you will say you want this child. I'm afraid that you love me because of the child. Love me because I am the child's father, and have to love me because of family responsibilities." Rocky's tender and gentle voice drilled into my ears. "Haley, I know that love may eventually turn into family affection. I also know that you got married to me just to find a quality partner to live with. But I don't want you to have no love for me from the beginning." I was stunned in place. It turned out that he knew all my unspoken little thoughts from the beginning. Rocky continued. continued, I can respect all your choices. For example, you are afraid that the police team will give you special care because you are pregnant, so you hide the fact of your pregnancy. You are very competitive. I can understand, but this doesn't mean that I won't feel heartache when you are injured. My eyes were sour and I said aggrievedly, then you can't keep being cold to me all the time. I also have a temper. Rocky got up and gently pulled me into his arms, rubbing my hair helplessly. So can you be good, baby? After he coaxed me well, he went to the kitchen to make lunch. After a while, I also followed him into the kitchen like a little tail and asked hesitantly, were you having a class just now? He was stunned for a moment and then nodded. Then I lost my temper with you just now. Did your students hear it? Rocky amusingly scratched my nose. Who knew your little temper would come so quickly? During the month when I was recuperating, Rocky's mother specially returned to China to see me. Rocky's mother is Russian and his father is Chinese. After his father passed away a few years ago, his mother was afraid of being sad if she stayed in her old place, so she returned to Russia. So this is the first time I have met Rocky's mother. She has the same beautiful clear and transparent blue eyes like glass as Rocky. But during the meal, Rocky's mother told me that Rocky used to hate his blue eyes very much when he was a child, because other children would treat him as an outcast because of his eyes and deliberately alienate him. Little Rocky didn't want to go to school for a long time. Once he even ran away from home to skip school. Fortunately, he was sent back by the police. Hearing this, I felt sorry for Rocky and put a piece of meat in his bowl. Rocky's mother suddenly frowned. Isn't Anton allergic to beef? Rocky responded and then put the meat back into my bowl and said with a smile, Haley likes it. She gives me everything she likes. Is Rocky allergic to beef? Seeing my slight surprise, Rocky's mother smiled and explained. Our Anton, this half-foreigner, is actually allergic to beef and mutton. Sometimes even milk is not okay. If it weren't for this, I would have made him go back to Russia with me at that time. No wonder Rocky said he didn't like drinking milk tea last time. And when he went out the next day, he was dressed up like an Arab. He should have been having an allergic reaction at that time. Rocky's mother didn't stay for a few days and then went back. Before leaving, she made an appointment with me to send me Rocky's childhood photo album, because both Rocky's mother and I firmly believe that the little baby in my belly will be as cute as little Rocky and preferably have a pair of blue eyes. After recuperating at home for more than half a month, I planned to go back to the police station. But on the night before I went to work, Rocky started to be cold-faced again. Doctor, Rocky, look, my injury is almost healed. Staying at home is boring. I put my arms around Rocky's neck and acted coquettishly. Please let me go back? Rocky was not moved by beauty at all. He raised his eyebrows and snorted. Is your injury healed? Then can you apply the medicine by yourself tonight and show me? Me? Even when I was fine, it was difficult for my old arms and legs to reach my back. Isn't this dog man doing it on purpose? When Rocky entered the bedroom, I was applying medicine to myself. He was holding a teacup and leaning against the cabinet, enjoying my strange posture. Later, when Rocky had enjoyed enough, he finally had a conscience and came to help. I puffed up angrily and avoided him. Then I turned off the light and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I felt someone rustling and lifting my clothes. When I opened my eyes, I saw Rocky applying medicine to me seriously. The warm yellow light at the bedside slanted on his face, showing the inextricable tenderness and gentleness in the man's eyes. Obviously, this person was so fierce during the day. My heart suddenly softened completely, regardless of whether the newly applied ointment would get on Rocky's clothes. I wanted to stick to him like an octopus. Did I wake you up? He looked down at me. I shook my head and buried my face in his neck and took a sip. The next morning, it was still Rocky who woke me up. As soon as I opened my eyes, I saw him staring at me with a smile, looking fully satisfied. When I was washing up, I saw the marks on my neck in the mirror and angrily asked him to keep a distance from me. Do we still need to keep a distance? This dog man muttered aggrievedly while driving me to work. We are already so familiar? City B is not big. Once the case of the rapist and murderer was reported by official media, it immediately caused a huge uproar in the city. I don't know where a small account popped up and released the video of the previous female complainant being beaten and assaulted by the rapist in the alley online. The angle of the video can only see the entrance of the alley. The broken cries for help overflowed from the pitch-black alley, getting more and more helpless. In the short 90-second video, I paused it countless times. The actions of the rapist and murderer are chilling, but people's attention has never been diverted from the victim. Someone revealed the identity of the female complainant on the internet. Alice, 18 years old, a dropout who works the night shift in a bar and is a revealingly dressed beverage salesperson, public opinion pushed her to the forefront. Her identity seemed to make this tragedy seem inevitable. Since the alley is located in an old street, the surveillance cameras have long been broken. We can only find the videographer based on the video. The videographer is a middle-aged man who was jogging at night and passed by the alley. Before her, there seemed to be cries for help in the alley already. I was too scared at the time and didn't dare to look inside. It's strange to say. Actually, this woman was walking behind me at first. Then suddenly she rushed into the alley like crazy. At noon, I went to the hospital to see that girl. Rocky said on WeChat that he hadn't had lunch yet, so I went to his favorite tea restaurant and brought a sandwich. When I arrived at his office, I saw a strange woman in a pink suit looking at Rocky with tenderness. I stood at the door and knocked gently. Didn't I disturb you? I need you to disturb. Rocky smiled at me and pushed the same takeout bag on the table and in my hand to the woman opposite him. A few days ago when you went abroad for further studies, I got married. The woman's expression suddenly changed and her voice trembled. Rocky, I thought what you said was out of anger. Thank you for your lunch. His tone was polite and distant, but my wife has come to bring me food. When having lunch with Rocky, he looked on high alert. Holding my hand, he carefully explained, ex-girlfriend. We were only together for 3 days before I met you. Who doesn't have an ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend these days? I found it amusing and deliberately got closer to tease him. Doctor, Rocky, you are already 30 this year. Without an ex-girlfriend or something, people will think there is something wrong with you in that aspect. Rocky bit the sandwich with pride on his face. Don't you know if there is anything wrong with me in that aspect? That's right. Looking at my increasingly round belly, I nodded in approval. And then? What then? I was puzzled. Rocky touched his chin and coughed softly in embarrassment. You should continue to ask me, brother, who is that little vixen? Then cry and make a fuss with me. Seeing that I was indifferent, he hung his head, held the sandwich in his mouth, and muttered aggrievedly in a low voice. It's over. My wife is not nervous about me at all. I'm about to be abducted by a bad woman. In the afternoon, my colleague and I came to the girls' ward. The rumors were spreading like wildfire. Facing the online public opinion and her father's furious accusations, the girl's face was pale and she kept staring out of the window without saying a word. Alice, according to your statement when you called the police, the assailant had already left. And the witness said that the criminal didn't run away until the police came. So you are not the first person to call the police. Who called the police with your mobile phone? Or, who are you protecting? It's me. Alice, who had been calm all along, suddenly sat up excitedly from the bed and shouted loudly at the door of the ward. Who asked you to come? What are you doing here? Get out. I looked back and saw a girl with a high ponytail and wearing a high school uniform standing at the door of the ward. The dark circles under her eyes were clearly the unique dark circles of a senior 3 student. Her knuckles holding the school bag strap turned white and she was trembling all over. At the beginning that night, it was me who was dragged into that alley. This big sister rushed in, stuffed her mobile phone into my hand, told me to run, told me to call the police, and told me not to look back. Alice ignored her injuries and grabbed the girl's wrist and dragged her out, saying viciously, I told you to shut up. The girl desperately broke free from her wrist and shouted in collapse. But I saw someone online say about you. She said that it's your own fault for dressing so little. He said that you are dressing like that to seduce men. They said that girls who work in that kind of place are not good girls. The girl spoke with a crying voice. Big teardrops fell on the ground one by one. But I know you are a good girl. If you are not a good girl, then who could rush into the alley without hesitation to save me that night? Alice's eyes suddenly turned red. She lost the strength to push away the girl and squatted on the ground and cried bitterly. Aren't you in senior 3? The college entrance examination is coming soon. You could have had such a good future. Why didn't you listen? Why did you look back? Isn't it enough for a bad person like me to entangle with them? In the end, the 2 girls hugged each other and cried. Their words stunned everyone in the ward and they didn't move for a long time. What the truth is no longer important. What's important is that we know that they are all good girls. The epidemic came suddenly at the end of the year. The disease was rampant in City W, and finally the whole city was locked down. A large number of medical staff from the affiliated hospital of B University rushed to City W to support, including Rocky. Although City B did not completely lock down the city, it also restricted the flow of people and implemented closed management of each community. The policemen in the police station were all transferred to the front line, while I was left to work in the community due to pregnancy. The transfer order came urgently. The night Rocky left, I stood at the gate of the community to see him off. After just a few steps, a woman rushed out from the darkness. "Where are you going? As a policeman, won't you abuse your power and let your family run away?" I was just about to explain when the old man at the gate opened his mouth. "Little girl, didn't you see that he asked for leave in the WeChat group? Why are you still saying sarcastic remarks?" Her husband is the deputy director of the obstetrics and gynecology department of the affiliated hospital of B University. Now he is going to support the epidemic area in City W. "You are going to City W?" The girl looked at Rocky incredulously. "Are you crazy?" Rocky didn't answer her. He just hugged me tightly and remained silent for a long time. When I was in Rocky's arms, I could see clearly that this person was Rocky's ex-girlfriend. "Young man, go ahead. We will take care of Haley for you." An old grandma from an unknown household stood on the balcony and shouted down while leaning out of the window. "Yes, yes, we are here." Voices from upstairs came one after another, young, old, and childish. Rocky gratefully bowed in the direction of the residential building. Then he kissed me through the mask and then squatted down and kissed my already protruding belly. Rocky's eyes looking at me seemed to have a lot to say, but in the end he only said one sentence: "Wait for me to come back." I have been married to Rocky for 4 months. Before we could have a passionate love affair, we had a long-distance relationship first. He jokingly gave our long-distance relationship a name called Love in the time of COVID-19. To take care of me, the people in the community let me be on duty during the day and go home and rest at night. If Rocky wasn't too busy there, he would call me via video before I went to sleep. Tonight his voice was muffled. He kept acting like a spoiled child and said his throat hurt. It's not new for him to work continuously for 24 hours since he went there. But when I saw Rocky's fatigue behind the mask, I still couldn't help feeling heartache. "Why are you still calling when your throat hurts?" Rocky smiled helplessly. "But I just want to hear your voice." My heart seemed to be gently pinched. I quickly changed the topic. "Is there anything you lack or want to use over there? I'll think of a way to see if I can send it to you." Rocky thought seriously for a while and said in a lazy voice, "Then can I use you?" I blushed because of his teasing and pretended to put down the phone. "Why haven't you gone to work yet?" Rocky quickly became serious. "I still have 3 minutes of rest time. You can talk to me for a while longer." I responded with an, Then I got out of bed and went to the living room to pour hot water. When I came back, I found that Rocky had already fallen asleep leaning on the chair. It wasn't until his head rested on the back of the chair and he turned his head uncomfortably that I saw the deep red mark on his earlobe caused by the mask's ear loop. No wonder Rocky had been sitting extremely upright during the video call just now. He had been gone for more than half a month. I didn't miss him when the house was empty. When I woke up in the middle of the night due to leg cramps after pregnancy and he didn't come over to massage my leg, I didn't miss him. But at this moment, I suddenly missed Rocky very much. Just when I was hesitating whether to hang up the video, Peter's big face suddenly appeared on the screen. Peter was holding Rocky's phone and quietly backed out of his room. Last night, there was a massive hemorrhage during childbirth in the makeshift hospital. Rocky stood in the operating room from yesterday afternoon until early this morning. As soon as he came out of the operating room this morning, he was called away again before he had time to eat and was busy all day. Well, I know he is busy. When I send him messages, it takes him half a day to reply with an emoji. Peter snorted. What he replied is not an emoji. That's his good mood for the whole day. Oh, if I had known that you two were so sickeningly sweet, I would never have let Rocky go in my place for the blind date, no matter what. Rocky went in your place? Yes. Peter scratched his head and recalled. Isn't your aunt a nurse in our hospital? When your dad was looking for a blind date for you, your aunt set her sights on the single guys in our hospital. After Rocky heard your name, he grabbed his car keys and went to see his future father-in-law without even taking off his white coat. I mocked. But this is not going in your place? This is not because there is a little girl who is chasing me desperately recently. Brother, I can't get away. I teased him. You are quite charming, Doctor. Peter, there are still little girls chasing you even when you are so busy at work? Peter started to laugh. After laughing for a while, he leaned against the seat outside the restroom and took out a cigarette and lit it. The smoke gradually rose as his fingertips flickered, blurring Peter's eyebrows and eyes. After a long time, I heard him laugh self-deprecatingly and say, in fact, it's because she looks down on me. I have been chasing her all the time. After Alice's story was reported by mainstream media, many companies expressed their willingness to provide this girl with better working conditions. Some people are even willing to sponsor her to finish college. She finally chose to work for a good local company and will report for duty tomorrow morning after being discharged from the hospital. I am not convenient to see her off during the day as I am on duty in the community. So I plan to go to the hospital to see her after work tonight. The hospital is very close to the community. Just cross the road and go through an alley. In winter, it gets dark early in City B. At 6 o'clock in the evening, it is already dark. Due to the epidemic lockdown, the streets are empty and there are few people. The snow on the ground is made golden by the warm orange light of the street lamps, forcing people to squint slightly. Suddenly, I heard the crunch sound of stepping on branches covered by snow. Then a man with his lower body exposed jumped out from the shadows of the trees in front. He was originally rushing directly at me, but when he saw the police uniform wrapped inside my unbuttoned cotton-padded jacket, he quickly turned around and fell on the snow face first. After I brought the person back to the police station, he started acting drunk and crazy. Later, when he realized that he couldn't leave, he took the initiative to admit his mistake and wrote a letter of self-criticism. When I arrived at the hospital, Alice and her mother were packing up. Alice's mother's skin color is the unique dark red after farmers work in the fields and are exposed to the sun. The wrinkles at the corners of her eyes are piled up. Her rough hands repeatedly rubbed the pattern on the short dress Alice wore during her hospitalization. She carefully advised, "From now on, we will go to work and get off work properly. Don't wear such revealing clothes anymore." Alice, sitting on the hospital bed, frowned and retorted, "Mom, does what I wear have anything to do with my job?" Alice's mother suddenly became excited and pointed at her angrily. "Don't you think you have been injured enough?" "Sister," I pushed the door open and entered. Looking at the mother and daughter with tears in their eyes, I said, "It is exactly 8 o'clock in the evening, Beijing time. 2 hours ago, on my way to the hospital, wearing this police uniform, I was still harassed by a strange man." As I spoke, I slid open my phone and found the picture. Look, I still have a photo of the letter of self-criticism written by that person in my phone. After reading it, the mother and daughter looked at me in surprise. That expression seemed to say, "You are a people's policeman. How dare he?" I smiled. Thus it can be seen, what does it have to do with what job a girl has, what she wears, and what time she gets off work if a girl will be harassed? Maybe my police uniform has protected me briefly, but isn't I myself another symbol of strength? "Sister," I took the girl's mother's hand. "Is the way to protect flowers to prevent them from blooming? Girls should take care of their bodies, but they also have the right to wear beautiful skirts. Besides, why must girls be flowers? As long as they like, they can be roses or armor. They can be thousands of things they can become." Although that man didn't do anything in the end, I was also so scared that I almost stumbled, afraid that the child in my belly would be affected after leaving Alice and her mother. I went to the obstetrics and gynecology department again to have an ultrasound. Coincidentally, the person on duty tonight is Rocky's ex-girlfriend Serena. She is Rocky's senior sister from the same school. After graduation, she and Rocky entered the same hospital. Later, they also bought a house in the hospital's family building together. I hadn't seen her before because she had gone abroad for further studies for half a year. I reluctantly lay on the examination bed. Fortunately, there was nothing wrong with the child in the end. Before I left, Serena stopped me. She said with a sarcastic expression, "Haley, do you know that Rocky has a white moonlight that he loves but can't have?" During the video chat with Rocky at night, I was in a low mood. Rocky thought I was frightened by what happened a few days ago, so he kept comforting me softly until I fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, I found that the WeChat video call was not hung up until Rocky went to work at 5 in the morning. In my 6th month of pregnancy, the number of COVID-19 infections in City W was announced to be 0. When Rocky got home, I was making dinner. He walked over from the living room in slippers and put his head on my shoulder like a big dog. Every breath close to my ear was like a deep sniff. "What are you making?" Without looking up, I was picking the vegetables in my hand. "Making dinner. Is there anything you want to eat?" Oh, he seemed to have discovered something amazing. He buried his head in my neck and chuckled. "I can still order food?" Before I could answer, Rocky's arms suddenly wrapped around my waist. Following his strength, I involuntarily took a step back and directly bumped into his arms. Rocky's breath was like mist hovering in my ear. I heard him chuckle lowly. "But I still prefer to eat you." Seeing that things were developing in an inappropriate direction for children, I hurriedly pushed him away. "Go take a shower. You are so dirty outside." Rocky quickly pecked me on the lips. He grinned. then a plain kiss is also fine. When helping Rocky pack his things at night, a dark green envelope fell out of his coat. The corner of the letter paper inside accidentally showed. When I picked it up, I caught a glimpse of the strong and powerful handwriting of a man on it. Amy, I'm sorry. If I come back alive, can you forgive me? I couldn't bear to look at the rest of the content. I just hastily stuffed the envelope back into Rocky's pocket in a panic. Suddenly, Serena's provocative voice in the hospital that day echoed in my head. Haley, you can't imagine how much Rocky likes her. And you are just a good cooperation partner that Rocky chose for his marriage. Serena was right. Rocky and I were indeed cooperation partners chosen by each other for marriage. Since getting married, I always felt that he was very special to me. I don't know if it's an illusion. I can feel that Rocky loves me. Obviously, this peaceful way of getting along after marriage is what I expected. But people always seem to be insatiably greedy. So the next day, when I saw Rocky carefully pushing that dark green envelope to the gentle and quiet girl opposite in the coffee shop, I couldn't help but care. Although I knew that with Rocky's character, he would never have any further development with her. But when I thought that Rocky still liked her, my heart still suddenly tightened. My mind was in a mess. That night, I sent a message to Rocky saying that I missed home and wanted to stay at my dad's place for a few days. My dad found it strange. Before Rocky was away, he asked me to come home to stay, but I didn't. Now that Rocky is back, I ran home again. He specially called Rocky to ask if we had a fight. After getting Rocky's negative reply, he immediately put down his phone and happily ran to the kitchen and made several dishes for me. I stayed at home for 3 days. During this period, I replied to Rocky's WeChat messages normally, but I was no longer willing to accept his video invitation before going to bed. On the 4th day, when I went to work, as soon as I went out, I saw Rocky standing in the snow wearing a thin black cotton padded jacket. A bunch of cigarette butts were lying messily at his feet. Until I got closer, the burning scarlet end in his hand was hurriedly extinguished by him. I don't know how long Rocky has been standing here. His nose and ears are all red from the cold. Seeing me, he seemed a little aggrieved, and his eyes also turned red. As soon as he opened his mouth, his voice was so hoarse that it was unrecognizable, but he still said anxiously and with difficulty, "Are you going to work? I'll drive you." I couldn't help feeling a little sorry for him. I nodded and walked towards the passenger seat. Rocky flatteringly opened the car door for me before I could. We were silent all the way. Rocky rested one hand on the steering wheel and frequently looked at me, but I kept looking out of the window, clearly showing an attitude of refusing to communicate. When getting out of the car, he suddenly reached out and grabbed my arm. Rocky's voice had a sinking dampness. He said hoarsely, "Haley, did I do something wrong?" "No." "Then why don't you come home? There are some things I haven't figured out yet. It's something related to me, right?" Rocky looked at me. His breathing was uneven. He was so nervous, as if waiting for some extremely severe punishment. I didn't say a word for a long time. His voice trembled. The hand still holding my wrist was careful, but couldn't help tightening again and again. "Since it's related to me, then say it out. Let's solve it together, okay?" After a long silence, I said, "Serena said that you had a girl you liked very much before. I saw her that day, in the coffee shop downstairs from our house. I saw you hand that letter paper to her. I don't like her." Rocky's eyes flickered. There seemed to be some emotion flashing in them. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, "I didn't like anyone before either. Amy is the person Peter likes, but he can't tell her in person anymore." Rocky suddenly paused here. "Because Peter, he passed away half a month ago." "Passed away?" Suddenly there was a buzz in my head. I could only repeat Rocky's last 2 words. "A month ago, he performed a cesarean section for an infected pregnant woman in the epidemic area. During the operation, the pregnant woman had a massive hemorrhage and was on the verge of death. Her also infected husband rushed in from somewhere. In a panic, he tore open his protective suit. Later, Rocky adjusted his breathing several times, but still couldn't bear to continue. After getting off work that night, I obediently went home with Rocky. The atmosphere during dinner was once awkward. I quickly took a few bites and then ran back to the bedroom to hide. I had wrongly blamed and misunderstood Rocky without understanding the facts. Now I am so ashamed that I wish I could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. In the middle of the night, Rocky rustled and came over from the other end of the quilt. His clean and refreshing smell instantly enveloped me, along with the slight temperature emanating from his skin. He rubbed his nose against my ear. Rocky's throat wasn't fully recovered yet. His voice was hoarse and lingering. "Haley, you made me feel wronged. After I came back, You didn't kiss me or hug me. I amusingly poked his face. Little Rocky, how old are you this year? I don't care, Rocky said and wrapped me and the quilt together in his arms and held me to sleep. When I was starting to get drowsy, the person above suddenly lifted his head and asked belatedly, Haley, are you jealous? The misunderstanding about Rocky's so-called white moonlight seemed to bring our relationship closer. Specifically, Dr. Rocky is even more clingy than before. Once when I passed by the hospital and waited for him to get off work and go home together. 1 second he was still seriously telling people various post-operative precautions. The next second, when he came out of the ward and saw me, he immediately came over and called his wife for a hug. If I hadn't seen Rocky seriously examining patients in the consulting room, it might be hard for me to imagine that this is the same person. When I went out for a prenatal checkup at the hospital today, the sky was overcast. So I took an umbrella with me. Rocky said that he had an operation this afternoon. He told me to go to the hospital and just have the examination done by the intern following him. When I came out, it was indeed drizzling outside. Although the family building is quite close to the hospital, it's inevitable to get wet when walking back. So I sent a WeChat message to Rocky, telling him that I was waiting for him to get off work at the entrance of the hospital lobby. When he came out, he didn't see me standing in the corner. I saw him take out his phone to call me. Just as I was about to call him, I saw Serena had already walked up to him with 2 umbrellas. I saw Rocky frown and politely refuse her. If I can't find the umbrella I like, then I'd rather get wet in the rain. Serena bit her lip and asked persistently, for loving her, you have done so many things that are completely unlike you. Is it worth it? Rocky's smile seemed to be painted on his face. He looked at the woman in front of him mockingly. So what? As long as it's for her. If she doesn't have much sense of security, then I can become very clingy. Hearing this, I couldn't hold back anymore and walked out from the corner and waved to Rocky. When Rocky saw me, the light in his eyes became gentle. He said softly, my umbrella is here. In fact, regarding my ex-boyfriend Tony's cheating, I have always been very calm. Like an adult, I was neat and clean. I didn't cry, make a fuss, act up, or quarrel. I broke up peacefully and gave each other the due dignity. I thought I was strong enough until I woke up in the silent night with tears all over my face. I had been with Tony for 7 years. We got together right after graduating from college. We survived long-distance relationships. But just when we were about to talk about marriage, he suddenly let go of my hand. When there is a problem in a relationship, both people are responsible. I have no intention of blaming him and am even constantly reflecting. In the end, I found that it seemed very difficult for me to have any other strength to love someone wholeheartedly or trust someone again. So when I felt that I was attracted to Rocky, my first reaction was actually panic. Is he someone I can trust? Is he someone I can love? Strangely enough, Rocky seems to know some magical spell. He can always see through all my uneasiness and disguises at a glance. Just as he said now, if she doesn't have a sense of security, I must be clingy. The news of my father's accident suddenly came one night when I was 7 months pregnant. At that time, Rocky and I were huddled on the sofa watching TV. After Rocky answered the phone and the person on the other end said a few words, he suddenly looked at me in panic. After hanging up the phone, Rocky tightly held my hand and said, Haley, listen to me calmly next. Dad was hit by a drunk truck driver when he was taking a walk at night. Now he is in the hospital and his condition is not very good. I'll help you change clothes. Let's go and see him together. My dad passed away that night. At that time, he was being rescued in the emergency room and was in a coma. We didn't even have a chance to say a word. I didn't expect that yesterday when he came to bring vegetables to Rocky and me. The hurried glance when he closed the door turned out to be the last look between our father and daughter. Rocky basically took care of my dad's funeral affairs. I was pregnant with a big belly and it was inconvenient for me to do anything. Rocky was afraid that I couldn't hold on and took several days off to accompany me. During this period, my emotions were always very stable. I ate and slept normally every day. The calmer I was, the more anxious Rocky became. He said, Haley, cry. Crying is also good. My breakdown came several days later when I accidentally dropped a potato on the ground while having dinner. That was the last potato left in the bag of vegetables that Dad brought. I reached for it. At 7 months pregnant, it was very difficult for me to bend over. Even if I lowered my head, I might not be able to see my own feet. After failing to reach it, I sat slumped on the chair and burst into tears. Rocky got up with red eyes and pressed me into his arms. I sobbed in front of his chest. Rocky, I don't have a dad anymore. I don't have a home anymore. Rocky squatted in front of me and carefully wiped away the tears on my face. He took my hand and placed it on my stomach. He said seriously word by word, Haley, you still have me and the baby in your stomach. We are your relatives and your home. At that moment, I suddenly seemed to understand why my dad insisted on me getting married. Most of us in this generation are only children. Wherever our parents are, that is our home. If one day our parents are gone, then we are like a lonely little grass swaying in the wind. But everything is not absolute. Dad's insistence is only half right. Being single doesn't necessarily mean being lonely. Getting married doesn't necessarily mean being able to fight loneliness. I am very lucky among the crowd. I have Rocky who loves me. At night when sleeping, Rocky hugged me and leaned against the head of the bed, looking through the album sent back from abroad by Rocky's mom this afternoon. We flipped through it from back to front. When we saw Rocky's photo in high school uniform, I was surprised to find that we had attended the same high school. Rocky didn't say a word. Suddenly he said, "Haley, let me tell you a secret." "What?" He lowered his head and kissed my forehead and said, "In fact, I have liked you for a long time. Before you developed deep affection for me over time, I had already fallen in love with you at first sight." I looked at him in surprise, because in my impression, I had never seen Rocky before the blind date. Rocky said, "When I was a child, I saw you in the children's hospital. At that time, I was bullied by children in the same ward because of my eyes. You suddenly appeared from nowhere and protected me behind you. You shouted loudly that his eyes didn't hurt anyone. Why did you use his eyes to hurt him? In the end, you also warned them very imposingly and said that my mom is a police officer who deals with bad people specifically." Speaking of this, Rocky suddenly laughed. "At that time, you were just heroin in my heart. I didn't have time to say thank you to you. As a result, because you were afraid of getting an injection, you turned around and cried loudly. I thought I had found a new partner at that time, but you left the next day. At that time, I even specially went to your bedside to see what your name was." I found a comfortable position in Rocky's arms and said sullenly, "In fact, I was not afraid of getting injections at all when I was a child. I cried so loudly just hoping that my mom would appear and cover my eyes. My mom is a police officer. She is very busy at work. When I was a child, only when I was sick would she rush over from somewhere I didn't know." I closed my eyes and thought carefully. I still remember when I had my first menstrual period. Because there were no adult women around, I didn't even know how to use sanitary napkins. It was my dad who knocked on the door of the neighbor aunt and taught me. Because she was often not by my side, I wanted to attract her attention very much when I was young. When I was rebellious when I was young, she would scold me from time to time. I felt that since she didn't care about me, what right did she have to ask me? For a while, I found her very annoying as a mother. Rocky stroked my head and said pityingly, "But you have forgiven her, haven't you? I heard that you inherited your mom's police badge number." "Yes." Later, it was only after I started working that I gradually understood her. But by that time, she was already gone. If only she were here. I looked up at Rocky seriously. "She would definitely like you very much too." "Yeah." Rocky nodded in agreement. We continued to flip through the album. Suddenly, we came across a photo of Rocky when he was a child taking a photo with a police officer. After seeing the person in the photo clearly, I was so shocked that I almost jumped up. I trembled and pointed to the bright red-lipped and white-toothed, high-spirited policewoman in the upper right corner of the photo and said, "She is my mom." Rocky was stunned for a moment and said, "At that time, my mom insisted on sending me to kindergarten, but I couldn't stand the ridicule of the children, so I ran away from home directly. Later, when I was walking on the road, I felt scared, remembering that you said your mom was a police officer who dealt with bad people specifically. I saw a police station not far away and ran in directly. Later, a policewoman sent me back. My mom specially took a photo of us." Rocky lowered his head and smiled. He said with emotion, "So your mom had already seen me at that time." Neither Rocky nor I am a theist, but at this moment we were all amazed by the wonder of fate. I reached out and hooked his neck and stared closely at his blue eyes and said, "I love you so much." Rocky nodded and looked at me. Then he gently closed his eyes. I let go of my hand and teased him. "You didn't think I was going to kiss you, did you?" Rocky took the initiative and me. His eyes showed his longing without hiding. "But I really want to kiss you." "Then it's also you deliberately seducing me." Rocky blew gently into my ear mischievously and asked in a low voice, "So, have I succeeded?" When his kiss fell, I didn't want to be outdone. I covered his mouth and asked aggressively, "There are so many people with the same name. How can you be sure it's me?" "Because I never gave up looking for you." Rocky smiled and pecked the palm of my hand. "In high school, in order to transfer to your school, I deliberately repeated a grade. As a result, I was 1 grade lower than you." "Oh, little brother." Rocky's breath, when he lowered his head, had a hot and slightly prickly feeling. It brushed against my neck. "Sister, right? Don't worry. Let me catch my breath first." After get down until late at night I had already fallen asleep. Vaguely, I felt Rocky gently kiss my forehead. In the days when I couldn't meet you, I also briefly tried to start a new chapter. But after realizing that that person is not you, it will be even more painful. I heard Rocky's tone as certain as if the sun would definitely rise tomorrow. He whispered softly in my ear. So, Haley, don't worry. I will always love you.